On today's show, this photographer's on the hunt.
Moose tracks.
Katie Mumm trades her day job at the fish market to follow her passion right up the Gunflint Trail, all in honor of Minnesota's most majestic wild animal. Carley might not be our biggest state park, but it sure is one of the most beautiful thanks to the bluebells. We take you on a wildflower tour. And we visit a bait shop with a most fishy facade.
Minnesota Bound, presented by Connecticut Water Treatment Systems.
Hey everybody, Laura, Millie, and I welcome you to today's episode.
If you've ever seen a moose in real life, you realize by their size and stature, they're pretty hard to miss.
Yeah, and Murphy's Law, when you go out and try to find one, they prove darn near impossible to track down.
What kind of fish do you have today?
Herring, menominee, and walleye.
This busy Grand Marais shop satisfies fresh fish cravings.
Alrighty. Are you eating here today? So I am the owner of a fish market in Grand Marais. I own the Fisherman's Daughter at Dockside Market.
Strange to look around Kate Mumm's fish shop and see it full of moose.
Hunt for moose and only take photos. Yeah.
A passion that accidentally clicked.
It was the first spring I was up here. I was the only staff member, and I was looking for kind of a hobby. I had my camera that I had always had, and I was like, I'm gonna go out and see what I can find. And I stumbled upon two moose, which is actually the picture inside of them kissing. So when I started photographing moose, I was obviously clueless, so I would just like go out at any time of the day and I wasn't seeing anything. So like there has to be a method to their madness, like when are they out, what are they doing?
So she set out, camera in hand, to try and figure out the moose mystery.
They'll completely stump me sometimes and I'm like, okay, I thought I had these figured out.
Katie's photos quickly helped develop a reputation around town.
She's got some awesome photos, yes. Yeah, I see them on Facebook a lot.
She has a really growing following now, and especially since she took over ownership of Fisherman's Daughter too. Yeah, she's definitely known around town.
Known as the moose photographer, her fans keep inquiring, how does she always seem to get so lucky?
Yeah, I don't. Usually it takes me like 5 to 6 days for tracking a moose, like following their tracks, finding droppings. And usually on like the 6th or 7th day, maybe I'll catch a glimpse.
On this day,
And I feel like when you think of the Gunflint Trail, you think of moose.
Katie heads out to try and track a moose.
Being on the lookout, watching in the woods, and then driving slow too is a huge thing because they will be right off the side of the road, and if you drive by too fast, you won't even see they're there.
You know how the trees are snapped, like at the tops? She would like snap them and eat them. So that's how you could tell like she's been in there eating.
I usually do about 100 miles a day, if not 200 miles a day. I'm on my third vehicle.
Look long enough, signs start to add up.
Moose tracks. Looks like a relatively small moose, probably. Not too big. Looks sort of fresh. There's not much debris in them. I was thinking. Yeah, we can keep following them. See where they go.
That said, subjects sometimes change. The life and times of a nature photographer.
Looks like some kind of yearling eagle. If we don't see a moose, we saw a bird. We'll see a moose.
Folks around these parts often do.
Yes, I just saw one like 2 days ago. I was like, wow, a moose. Yes, actually, we saw one the other day up the Glenfin Trail. So, yeah.
Was that your first time?
It was my first time. I was very excited.
No, it's bigger than a horse, so it's like, what is that? Oh yeah, it's a moose.
Sounds like there might be moose all over. But today, not in Katie's lens.
We need a moose here, that's what I said.
Coming up next, wildflowers pop in this less than popular state park. We take a tour next.
Minnesota Bound is brought to you by Connecticut Water Treatment Systems, Coors Light, Ice Castle Fish House and RV, and by White Bear Lake Superstore.
It's time to take a walk in a special spring state park. The park was named after former Senator James A. Carley, the man who donated the land to our state and our people.
It's a pretty small state park. Just a little bit over 200 acres. To give you a perspective, the neighboring park, Whitewater, is about 1,900. You got a hustle and bustle of a big park next door. Within 12 minutes, you can come back here and enjoy a quiet park. It was established back in 1949. Fuller family, which was the last people that lived here, all the way until 1925, and that's the last people to live actually on the land that is Carley. There's only a few trails, but what we've got is really nice. You can go trout fishing here as well. This is the north branch of the Whitewater River, kind of at a transition, so we're right as we descend into a pretty deep valley. So we're gonna go from warmer water down as we reach in the valley to cooler water. So we don't get booked as often. So if people are trying to get into a state park in a shorter time frame, chances are you could get in here at Carley. For Carley, it's kind of its weekend. This is the big weekend. People know Carley for its bluebells, and so this is kind of the day or the couple weeks where this park gets a chance to shine. Welcome to Carley on one of its biggest days. This is Bluebell Festival in Plainview. It's Carley Bluebell Festival here. My goal is for us to take a nice leisurely walk, see what's in bloom. Basically, the trail follows the river at the bottom, and then goes on top of the bluff and follows it back.
Well, I like the hiking through here, especially over in the woodland areas. That's really a pretty hike through there.
You know a bluebell when you see one, and they make great photos. It's bright, it's big, it's ornate. You can't mistake it for anything else.
Well, we do this every year. We like to check out the bluebells.
100%, it's the wildflowers, yeah. We're just known as that spot that you can go take a walk and see a lot of good wildflowers. We walked by it. This is Nodding Trillium. So this is waterleaf. This is Virginia waterleaf. So these are wild geranium. This is a really cool plant. So it's also called bedstraw. If you were a kid and you're supposed to be watching the sheep and you came back into town and this was sticking to you, they know that you were slacking at the job because this is stuck and you didn't notice it. We got a Jack in the Pulpit right away. That's awesome.
Well, we just like the wildflowers. There's such a variety of them.
But this is trout lily. You can just see the fragments of the dots left behind on it. People come here because it tends to be a lot quieter. So if you're looking for more of that rustic experience, this is the spot to come.
Still ahead, an ode to Minnesota Bound's original chef. But first, the story behind Grand Marais' giant fish head and the secret bait business below.
Closed captioning provided by Star Bank.
We all have our favorite fishing bait. Up next, though, the story behind a very unique little something called a beaver flick. It is a bait with quite the tail and quite the fish head.
Grand Marais, one of Minnesota's last pit stops for campers and anglers, people who load up on supplies and head to the North Woods. Chasing that dream walleye or trout? Then you might hit the Beaver House, a place pretty hard to miss.
The outside is really appealing with all the fish hanging out of it. It was easy to find.
The owner, Tyson Kronberg, a face known around Grand Marais.
My farthest memory is when I was probably 3 or 4. Yeah. I've been working in here my entire life. I used to pack night crawlers when I was 5, 6 years old. Count out night crawlers, put them in a bag and twist it up, and I'd make a penny a dozen or whatever. Then I'd go walk down to Joynes and buy some candy.
A passion he learned from his dad, the co-founder of the shop.
My dad and my uncle started in 1964, so it's just been our family since then. My dad fell in love with this area, and then they talked about starting a store, a clothing store is how it started.
The two started making lures and quickly noticed that's what people wanted.
And there's people waiting for them to get done with their lures. They could tell more people wanted lures than clothing. Which is how the Beaver House earned its fame. There isn't too many people that don't know about beaver flicks. Everyone in Minnesota probably knows about beaver flicks.
A handy one-of-a-kind lure.
It's just the simplest little thing. What it does is you use it with live bait, and so that little flicker just attracts them to your live bait, and then they go for the bait. I guarantee them to catch every kind of fish there is, or your money back in the summertime. I double guarantee them for ice fish.
Beaver Flick caught the eyes of more than just anglers.
A few years after he started making them, he noticed there's young girls coming in and buying all the different parts. And he asked them what they're making jewelry, and there's earrings, and he said, well, I can make some earrings, so he started making earrings.
Word of these baits spread outside state lines.
I got 3 beaver flicks. Our teacher told us that they handmade the tackle here, so I thought that was really cool and that would be something special to bring home.
This is the reason we're still on this corner for 57 years.
Still carrying the legacy of his dad's shop.
I love it. I live for fishing, and I've been in here my whole life, but I got to work with my dad most of my life, and it was awesome. I had great parents, very fortunate.
I love fishing. I love fishing for every single kind of fish that we have in our lakes and rivers, and fortunately we're blessed with a lot of them. Some days I like catching a lot of fish and I just like the fun of the battle, and I don't necessarily want to take home a meal of fish. A lot of times when people go fishing catch and release, they're targeting bass or maybe northern or muskie, and those are a lot of fun to catch. But I've also had a lot of fun the last few years targeting rough fish. Believe it or not, those carp, suckers, buffalo, sheephead, the fish that a lot of people consider rough fish or trash fish, they're a lot of fun to catch. And if I'm not keeping the fish for a meal, you know what? They pull a lot harder than a lot of those bass. And one of my favorite ways of catching them, believe it or not, is on my favorite walleye lure, Rapala jigging rap. This thing catches rough fish like you would not believe. It doesn't make sense to me why, And I've stopped trying to figure it out. All I know is it just flat out works. I've taken a lot of people fishing, and when they hook into a big old rough fish, it's the time of their life, and they say, I want to do it again. And I tell them, you know what, it's as simple as throwing an artificial lure just like this right here, mixing it up, and you know what? You end up catching a lot of very, very large fish and having a memorable day on the water. The next time you go fishing and you're not necessarily interested in taking home a meal, try targeting rough fish with a lure just like this, and you might have the time of your life too.
Just be very gentle. Okay.
Up next, we dig into the old Minnesota vault to pull out a story dedicated to our first wild game chef.
Minnesota Bound is brought to you by Midwest Exteriors MN, Voyager Lodge and Houseboats, and by Totem Resorts, the premier destination for world-class fishing.
Wild game cooking has been a part of our show since episode number 1.
Yeah, you are our pro from the kitchen, but way back in the day, Minnesota Bound had another fan of the kitchen, a guy by the name of Chef John.
And my dad, Ron Shera, takes a look back at some of the chef's best Minnesota Bound moments.
In his kitchen, we've cooked frogs, squirrels, ostrich, even snake soup.
Really cooking rattlesnake?
Rattlesnake, look at here, Brian. Rattlesnake chili.
Where did you get that?
Well, actually, I got it from...
We've munched on real flowers.
Just a little leaf at a time. Just be very gentle. Okay, here we go. Hey, good eating.
Ate out of a flower pot.
Center. You're just gonna...
And even used a Minnesota Vikings helmet as a mixing bowl.
Hey, Chef John, what's cooking?
Minnesota Bound after the Viking.
Sometimes Chef John found it easier to cook than talk.
It's gonna be great.
We're flirting fritters.
They're good.
Pieces of poached perch, Brand.
It looks heart healthy.
Speed action.
Dad.
I mean, you got a hot garden this year, huh?
It looks heart healthy.
Brandy and I are going to make spicy mustard.
It's a good way to...
Action.
What do you think?
Oh, God.
What do I always say?
And other times the food was so good, we were speechless. But usually the results were worth a song.
Boogie, woogie, woogie with me.
Other dishes were a little big.
Look at this guy.
Look,
Oh,
where'd you
my.
get the salmon?
Well, you know.
It's a monster.
And a crappie stew needs only a splash of sherry.
These crappies are real tender. A little. Holy buckets, we got sherry.
Yes, over the years, we've sautéed this and broiled that, and once attracted bees to sweet things. You could say Chef John in the kitchen is like a circus act. He stirs and flips and makes it look easy.
1, 2, 3. Well, Brandy, I'll tell
Doesn't matter. If it lands in the Game Gourmet's kitchen, you know it's...
good eating. Good monkey pickles. Oh. Good eating.
Last we checked, Chef John is enjoying retirement in Connecticut.
Yeah, good times. Well, Millie, guess what? That about does it for us. We hope to see you back here next week.
In the meantime, don't forget to introduce a kid to the great outdoors.
Transportation provided by Premier Transportation. Call 1-800-899-7433. To get more Minnesota Bound, including full episodes, go to mnbound.com. And to follow our latest adventures, like us on Facebook.